Hello and very good evening to all our viewers. This is Beyond Wallet. I am Sumit Chaturvedi. Let's see what is making headlines in the world of business this evening. British Airways is facing disruptions for a third consecutive day after worldwide computer system crash. US Homeland Security Secretary says the ban on laptop in the cabins could be extended to all international flights. Indian government in favor of exiting national carrier Air India completely if a suitable investor is available. And Indian Oil Corporation has overtaken Oil and Natural Gas Corporation ONGC to become India's most profitable state-owned company. Now straight to our top story, US Homeland Security Secretary John Kelly has said he may ban laptop computers in the cabins of all global flights into and out of the US amid continuing terrorist threats to bring down airplanes, but that a final decision had not been made on this so far. However, a Department of Homeland Security spokesman said as recently as May 24 that the agency was not actively considering a laptop ban for global flights leaving the US. The agency, which has barred services and devices larger than mobile phones on flights from 10 Middle East and North African companies since March, has been in talks with European Commission officials about extending a prohibition to US-bound flights from the continent. Now, despite concerns from the European Union, Kelly said the Department of Transport Security Administration might and likely will intensify scrutiny of carry-on luggage as well. Now, because travelers are packing more into them to avoid airlines back-checking fees. Coming to China, where industrial profits have climbed to 572.8 billion won, which is $83.6 billion last month, National Bureau of Statistics said. Well, that compares with a jump of 23.8% in March and an 8.5% increase last year. Output in world's largest manufacturing nation, China is booming on the back of stronger global demand, trade and investment, handing producers better pricing power. Now, China's exporters are capitalizing on the improved demand amid concern that the global economy may slow in the longer term. Industrial profits surged 24% to 2.28 trillion yuan in the first 4 months as 38 of 41 industries achieved better profits than last year. Now, companies' financing costs are rising as financial expenses gained 4.2% last month year on year, 1.2 percentage points higher than March. China's domestic growth outlook faces uncertainties as policymakers try to rein in excessive credit. A surprise cut in China's debt rating by Moody's Investor Service last week may coincide with weakening momentum following a better-than-expected expansion in the first quarter. Now, moving to Auto World, where Hyundai Motor will open its first Chinese brand store and may locally assemble its premium Genesis cars and accelerate the launch of a sport utility vehicle or SUV. The measures are aimed at rebooting the South Korean firm's branding in China, where many see Hyundai as a lower-end maker of city taxis. Now, Hyundai and its affiliate Kia Motors were not long ago ranked third among foreign car brands in China, but recent sales have been hit by a consumer backlash over South Korea's deployment of a US anti-missile defense system, which Beijing opposes. Now, analysts say the diplomatic row masks broader problems for Hyundai and Kia in China. The poor brand recognition and a model lineup struggling against local brands, cheaper SUVs. Even before the missile systems row, Hyundai and Kia's China market share had tumbled to 8.1% last year, the lowest in 8 years. Now, this year it has slid further to 5%. Now moving to auto space, and again BMW, the German luxury car maker, is set to extend production halts in Germany to China and South Africa as the luxury car maker grapples with a shortage of steering parts. Production at the factories in Shenyang and Roslin is likely to stop for a while its plant in Germany is expected to be partially shuttered. The plant has been closed off Germany since Friday, and another facility in Munich was affected last week as an unidentified Italian car parts supplier has been unable to make the required deliveries. Now, BMW's profitability dropped in the first quarter as an aging production lineup led the company to offer incentives to accelerate sales. The Munich-based car maker delivered 5.2% more cars in the first quarter than a year earlier, compared with a 1.16% jump at Mercedes, which last year outsold its luxury brand rival for the first time in a decade. Now, passengers of British Airways stare at another day of disruption. The airline is facing disruptions for a third consecutive day after a worldwide computer system crash. BA says it aims to operate a full haul schedule. Passengers are advised to check status of flights before traveling. Now, blamed on outsourcing to India that grounded scores of planes, this has happened, leaving thousands of travelers stranded over the weekend. The airline said it intends to run a full schedule at Gatwick today and to operate a full long-haul schedule and a higher proportion of its short-haul program at Heathrow. Now, BA passengers have been told to check the status of their flights before traveling to the airports, where scenes of chaos unfolded over the weekend. The airline claimed it was making good progress in recovering from the worldwide IT glitch. Thousands of passengers had their travel plans disrupted as a result of the problem, with one workers' union blaming the outsourcing of IT jobs to India for the chaos, a claim denied by the airline. The company said there was no evidence the failure was the result of a cyber attack. Experts predict the knock-on effect could continue for several days, and BA is facing huge compensation costs, with reports suggesting the bill could top £100 million for British Airways. Now, passengers faced hours-long lines to check in, reclaim lost luggage or rebook flights at Terminal 5, BA's hub at Heathrow. Now, BA operates hundreds of flights from Heathrow and Gatwick on a typical day, and both are major hubs for worldwide travel after British Airways' computer crash caused chaos at airports and grounded flights worldwide. Travellers have reported being charged extortionist sums to stay at nearby hotels, while many passengers took to sleeping on the floor, as we can see at the Heathrow airport following the crash on Saturday. Well, that was one of the unfortunate incidents that have happened over the last week. BA flights were grounded, because of which there was problem. Over 3 lakh passengers have been affected, while BA is trying to restore normal services as quickly as possible, but that has not been happened so far. The bill for BA could top £100 million. Passengers faced hours-long lines to check in, reclaim lost luggage or rebook flights at Terminal 5, which is BA's hub at Heathrow 3 in London. Now, BA operates hundreds of flights from Heathrow and Gatwick on a typical day, and both are major hubs for worldwide travel after the British Airways computer crash caused chaos at airports and grounded flights worldwide. Travellers have reported being charged exorbitant sums to stay at nearby hotels, while many passengers took to sleeping on the floor at Heathrow Airport following the crash on Saturday. Well, good evening to Mr. Dhull. First of all, we would like to know from your side, what are the rights of passengers in case something like this happens?
Good evening. Pleasure to be on the channel. Well, I think in this case, there are certain rights, especially under the EU compensation rules, which entitle passengers to between €250 to €600, depending upon the flight that they were taking, from short haul to long haul flights. In addition, there is compensation for hotel stay as well as transport to and from the airport. I think the challenge that rises that there are British Airways could claim that these compensation rules don't apply to them because of it being an act of God of force majeure impact. So let's see how that plays out. I think it's been a very unfortunate event because passengers have been stuck. It was a very, very big holiday weekend. And, hotel prices close to the airport have skyrocketed. And the compensation that's being offered actually doesn't really pay for a hotel room anymore out there, which is why you have a lot of passengers who are stuck at Heathrow itself. Apart from other issues in terms of their delay, and it's been 3 days, and I think most passengers haven't been able to get onto flights as yet.
Mr.
So it's been quite a disaster.
Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Gill, how common are such kind of outages? How common do they happen? And is this BA thing one sort of exception? Would you say that, or you think this can be very common?
Well, I think Delta had one last year. And then, you've had this incident. It's definitely not a common thing that happens. So it's definitely a one-off thing. And I think it's something that a lot of the airlines must be looking at and gearing up their systems to make sure that, they have adequate backups in place. If something like this happens, it should have, there should have been a backup system working in place, which would not allow this to cascade into such a disaster, because you had complete flight cancellations, and then it was a holiday weekend, and the website was down, or the mobile app was down, so no check-ins. People's baggages have to be managed. So there was, I think it's a big lesson for the airline industry overall.
And if we talk about the laws, what laws do apply there? Do the IATA laws apply there? Or if India flights are cancelled, their laws will apply, or UK laws will apply?
So I think in the case of out here, I would imagine that these would be more of the EU laws would apply in this case. And there are clear compensation rules that EU provides, which enables passengers to get, from 250 euros for short haul delays of more than 3 hours to going up to as much as 600 euros per day in the case of a long haul flight that's delayed beyond 3 hours. And in addition, of course, the airline has to take care of the hotel stay in the event of an aircraft being cancelled. In India, it's a little different. In India, it's DGCA has some rules regarding delays. Anything beyond 2 hours, the airline has to compensate passengers up to 10,000 rupees per person. And in the case of boarding being denied, it is 20,000 rupees per person.
And in such kind of hub situation, Mr. Dhull, how worse can it go? Like from here, in 3 days, they haven't been able to find the whole solution. So what do you think, how far can it go now from here on? And looking at these big giants, the airline giants, is it something which can be really avoided in future?
Well, I definitely think that something like this needs to be, you need to have enough backups in place so that something like this doesn't happen, because an outage of this kind is catastrophic for the airline itself, as well as for the traveling population. And I actually think that British Airways has a huge challenge on their hands in terms of restoring credibility with regard to their with regard to the brand itself. And I think that, at the end of the day, it's an industry where, safety is a big issue, and something like this does not really inspire too much confidence. So I'm pretty sure that a lot of the airlines would be checking their own systems and making sure they have enough backups in place to ensure that something like this never happens to them.
And Mr. Dhull, for the benefit of our viewers, we would like to know, what if somebody is very unwell, or is there an urgency? What if they want to board the flight at the earliest? Can they do it by paying an extra money, or what is the option before them if they are very, very urgent situation?
So I'm sure, when you look at this, they're talking about 3 lakh passengers being affected. So I'm pretty sure there would be people who would absolutely have to travel. And I think BA has put out a statement which acknowledges that if you would like to take a refund, they would allow you to do that, and therefore you could rebook yourself on some other airline, which I mean, it probably would be a situation where you would be booking on the last minute and it would be an expensive ticket. I'm not sure BA is taking care of something like that, but that's the only option that you would really have, which is to quickly go and figure out which is the other airline that's traveling to the destination that you want to, and whether there are tickets out there available for you to get onto a flight as quickly as you can.
One last question to you, Mr. Dhull, would be, you are a COO of a leading portal which deals in the airline bookings and everything. What would you have done in such a situation had there been an emergency situation?
Well, I think, firstly, one would really make sure that you have enough backups so that you would switch over to a backup system, and therefore you won't have a situation like this, because I think this is just a massive disaster in which you've had 24 hours of outage. I think in today's world, people are, even a matter of a few minutes of outage is not acceptable. So I think that's the first area. Once something like this has happened, I think you do everything possible to try and make sure your passengers they have as comfortable an experience in the context. And I think that would mean compensating them for hotel stays, compensating them to make sure that if there are delays, that they are at least comfortable during this process.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Dhull, so much. Thanks for talking to us on this important subject today. We were talking to Yatra CEO, Mr. Dhull, on the subject of global outage of British Airways. Now, staying with the aviation space, the government of India is in favor of exiting Air India national carrier totally if a suitable investor is available. Well, that is said by Finance Minister of India, Arun Jaitley. Air India has a thin market share but a massive debt overhang of rupees 50,000 crore. According to DGCA, by December 2016, Air India's domestic market share, measured by total number of passenger seats sold, has dropped to 14.1%, making it the third largest, behind market leader Indigo at 39.8% and Jet Airways at 15.5%. FM Jaitley briefly worked as the Minister for Civil Aviation in the Atal Bihari Vajpayee government in 1999. He had then signed on Air India's file asking for its total disinvestment. Jaitley pointed out that a loss or profit by the private airline was not payable for by the tax paid by the citizens of India. But the debt of Air India will have to be made good from government finances. And staying with India news, where Indian Oil Corporation has overtaken Oil and Natural Gas Corporation to become India's most profitable state-owned company. IOC, which has for decades been India's biggest company by turnover, posted a 70% jump in net profit to rupees 19,100 crore in the financial year ended March 31st. This was more than the rupees 17,900 crore net profit ONGC posted in 2016 and 17. Making IOC the most profitable PSU. According to earning estimates of the companies, ONGC was long India's most profitable company but lost the crown to private sector Reliance and other companies a couple of years back. It has now been unseated as the most profitable PSU by IOC. In the previous 2015 and 16 fiscal, IOC had a net profit of rupees 11,242 crore. With this, it is time for a short break on Beyond Wallet. After the break, we will continue with our coverage of markets. Stay tuned to Beyond.